I am a well-known chef working at a popular upscale restaurant. Lately, work has been hectic, and I get home very late every day. This has caused some friction between my girlfriend Anna and me. So, on Valentine's Day, which is usually the restaurant's busiest time, I took the day off to make it up to Anna by cooking her favorite gourmet dinner. However, to my surprise, Anna, assuming I would be working, had already made plans to go hiking with her friend Belle and was not expected back until around 7 p.m. Well, at least we could still have a romantic dinner when she returned. But I couldn't help feeling a bit annoyed. Who goes hiking with someone else on Valentine's Day? I figured this was Anna's way of retaliating for the time I've been neglecting her. I knew I had to make the evening perfect and keep my complaints to myself. After all, I had spent the whole day preparing her favorite dishes: grilled scallops, seared steak, and a delicious chocolate mousse cake. I even set the table with romantic candles and roses, just waiting for her to come back. Time passed slowly. 7 p.m. came and went, but Anna was still not home. Feeling anxious, I texted her. She replied, saying she'd be a bit late because it took longer than expected to get down the mountain. I remained patient and didn't rush her. Hours went by, and Anna was still not back. I began to worry and texted her again. "Are you still not back? Is everything okay?" Anna responded, "We found something strange in the woods and decided to check it out. I'll tell you about it later." Her vague response did nothing to ease my concern. At that moment, a mouse ran into the kitchen. Lately, the house had been plagued by pests, and we were planning to call an exterminator. But tonight was too important to let these annoying creatures ruin it. I grabbed a baseball bat and swung at the mouse, missing it every time as it darted into a hole in the wall. Dropping the bat, I found myself worrying about Anna again. What exactly did she see in the woods? I sent her another message. "It's getting late. Come back soon, Anna." She replied quickly, "I'm coming back now. Sorry for making you wait, darling." Although I believed her, a nagging suspicion lingered in my mind. Could there be something going on between her and Belle? By 11 p.m., I was anxious, frustrated, and restless. Finally, the door opened. Anna was back, but she looked different, depressed, with a lifeless expression, and appeared ill. Just as I was about to complain, she spoke first, saying she was full and didn't want to eat, making my entire day's efforts seem futile. This was unlike her. She usually loved my cooking. Disappointed, I said. "I spent the whole day preparing your favorite steak and dessert. Can't you at least take a bite?" Anna insisted. "I really don't want to eat right now. I have no appetite." She mentioned something happened during the hike, but her tone was distant, as if hiding a secret. Despite the warmth of the heater, a chill filled the room and all the lights began flickering inexplicably. Anna's behavior grew increasingly bizarre as she mumbled words I couldn't understand, and her voice changed. The person standing before me was no longer the Anna I loved. Midnight struck, and the eerie atmosphere showed no sign of subsiding. I stood there in a daze, staring at the Valentine's Day dinner still untouched on the table, feeling a mix of anger and worry. What had happened to Anna? Normally, she couldn't resist good food. I anxiously asked, "Anna, what's wrong with you? You've been acting weird since you came home." She impatiently replied, "It's just something that happened while hiking. I don't want to talk about it." Her dismissive and indifferent tone angered me, and the more I pressed her, the more evasive she became. I couldn't help but suspect that something had indeed happened between her and Belle. As the night wore on, Anna became increasingly agitated, pacing around the room with awkward, jerky movements. She stopped in front of a wall and stared blankly at it, as if seeing something I couldn't. It was getting creepy. "Anna, what are you looking at?" I asked. She responded nervously. "Don't you hear it? There's something whispering." A chill ran down my spine as the room grew colder, and I could see my breath. Anna resumed muttering those unintelligible words. and when I tried to pull her away, she dodged my touch. In that brief moment, her skin felt cold, and I realized she was the source of the chill. The dropping temperature was because of her. What was happening to her body? Could it be related to the hike? I called Belle to find out what had happened on the mountain, but no one answered. Hanging up the phone, I noticed frost forming on the windows, and the computer on the desk suddenly crashed to the floor. Pulling Anna close, I said, "No matter what happened, I'm here for you. Let's get help now." But she turned and sneered in a voice I had never heard before. "It's too late for that now." Her laughter was bone-chilling, devoid of any emotion, and suddenly, it felt like an evil presence was mocking my helplessness. Who could have imagined a romantic evening would turn out like this? It was as if Anna had been possessed by an invisible force. She continued, "No one can help me with what's inside." Her expression became grotesque, and I was certain something beyond my understanding was happening. Just then, Anna's body twisted unnaturally, hands planted on the ground in reverse. At the same time, I felt an unseen energy pouring out of the walls, growing thicker in the air. For a moment, I couldn't distinguish between reality and illusion. When I blinked, I found myself in the mountains, tied to a tree. A group of men in black robes surrounded me, spitting on me as they came forward one by one, cutting me while chanting strange spells, just like the ones Anna had been mumbling. I screamed in agony, feeling as though I was about to bleed out and lose consciousness, while vultures circled overhead, awaiting my demise. Suddenly, I snapped back to reality and found myself at home. It had all been a hallucination, but I somehow understood what had happened to Anna. She must have actually gone through everything I had just witnessed in that vision. I encouraged her, saying, "You have to control yourself. Fight the power within you. Don't let it consume you." At that moment, Anna's appearance was no longer human. With a mocking smile, she replied, "Oh, really? But I've already beaten it." Her voice was no longer hers, sending an even deeper chill through me. It was obvious that Anna's body had been completely taken over. As the items in the room began to fly around, strange symbols emerged on Anna's skin. She even boasted, "Beautiful, aren't they?" before picking up a plate and smashing it against the wall. The noise startled the mouse from earlier, and Anna leaped at it like a predator, biting its head off in a flash. Terrifyingly, she then turned to me and said, "Scared? This is my true self." Rising to her feet, she revealed her true identity. It turned out that she was a malevolent, ancient spirit that had lurked in the world for centuries, using a mysterious sacrificial ritual to seek out fresh hosts, awaiting the right body to inherit its ancient powers and devour humans. And today, she encountered Anna and Belle during their hike and chose Anna as the host. I asked anxiously, "What about Belle?" The entity replied smugly, "Why do you think I wasn't hungry when I got back?" Nausea surged through me as it became clear Belle had been eaten. Now it was my turn. As fear gripped me, I gathered my courage and tried to find a way to escape this nightmare. But the entity was inhuman and overwhelmingly powerful. I felt there was no way out. Desperate to survive, I grabbed a kitchen knife and dashed toward the stairs. In this deadly game of cat and mouse, I stood no chance. The entity soon lunged at me with vicious eyes and sharp teeth, leaving me no choice but to instinctively swing the knife. I didn't expect to harm it, but the entity let out a horrific scream, its cruel gaze fading as it collapsed. I stood there frozen, tears streaming down my face. I had just killed the woman I loved, though she was no longer herself. I called the police, desperately trying to explain that I had no other choice. That person was no longer Hannah. I didn't know if they would believe me. But to my shock, when the police arrived, they found me collapsed on the kitchen floor, and Anna's body was nowhere to be found. There was no trace of blood, as if nothing had happened. Before the officers left, they gave me a stern look. I wondered if I had gone mad. Had I imagined everything? But then, a chilling detail caught my eye. A decapitated mouse lying in an inconspicuous corner, a stark reminder that everything that night had indeed been real. The knife hadn't ended it. The entity was only injured and had escaped, hiding somewhere. For the rest of my life, I would have to live with the guilt, fear, and unanswered questions. Every Valentine's Day would forever be a haunting nightmare, shrouded in ancient evil and darkness.